Hi, I'm Logan T. Smith for Opinions Subject to Change, and here I'm going to talk about the Fast and the Furious series, but it's going to be a little bit different than normal because I'm going to do this more like what I'm doing on Patreon, is that I have these exclusive chats on Patreon where I talk about the film and the specifics of the films that I review, and those chats on Patreon have spoilers in them as well, so that's why they're kind of separate. But it just goes into more details. I'll talk about the specifics, the scenes, and the things that I like and the things that I didn't like. And it's much more casual. I don't have a script, and I just kind of chat about things. So today, I'm just going to chat about the Fast and the Furious movies, and why I like them, but I'm going to keep this one spoiler-free as well. So I'm going to tell just kind of a little bit of a synopsis about them, and then my experience with the Fast and the Furious, I guess, is maybe a better way to describe it. So when the Fast and the Furious came out, I hated the idea of it. I thought it would be terrible, absolutely terrible. And I didn't watch it. Let's see, when did it come out? The first one came out in 2001. And I didn't watch the first movie probably until 2000. I can't remember if I watched it in 2006 or 2007, or if I didn't see it until after 2010, so in 2010. And so it could be either of those times. So it was quite a bit later, and it was probably in 2006 or 2007, though. And I thought I would hate it, because I thought that the Fast and the Furious was just some macho action movie with racing and stupid stunts and all kinds of just silliness. And I was actually wrong. The Fast and the Furious, this first one, is more of a crime drama that happens to be centered around street racers. And it's not super good. So it's okay. I quite like it. But it does really show its age when you watch it now. Some of their music choices seem a little odd, but they're definitely in the time. This one also has the super trendy cars, let's say, with the bright colors and decals all over them. And so it's not a timeless classic, let's say, but it is a crime drama, and it's an alright crime drama. Not great, but okay, with a satisfying end and a satisfying story to it. So I was quite surprised by what this movie was, and I quite liked it, and so I decided to keep watching the other Fast and the Furious movies. So the next one is Too Fast, Too Furious, and this one was a little more what I thought the Fast and Furious was, but this is still definitely a crime drama. It's still definitely a crime drama that happens to take place around street racers. Most of the original cast is not in this. I believe only one character from the first movie is in this movie. It's in a different place. They go from, I believe they're in California in the first movie, and they go to Florida in the second movie. And I really didn't like it the first time I saw it, but I actually have grown to like it more over time. It is a little bit sillier in parts and less dramatic, I guess. Sort of the street racing part in the first one, although not super realistic, is treated in a serious fashion. The street racing in this one is definitely sillier. There's not a ton of street racing in either of these movies, but where it's here, they kind of do some silly stuff, but it's still overall a pretty good movie. I would rank it, as far as the overall quality, pretty close to the first one. Then we move to the Fast and the Furious to Tokyo Drift, or Tokyo Drift. This one I actually really liked when I first saw it, and I can't remember, but it may have actually been the first one I saw, but I don't think that's true. I think I saw the very first movie first. And it ditches basically the entire cast moves to, well, follows a character from the United States to Tokyo, and has actually a fair amount of street racing in it, and obviously they're focusing on drifting in it. And the acting in this one, although the acting is not especially good in the first two movies, the acting is worse in this one. But it has better street racing, I think. More interesting street racing anyways. Still definitely a crime drama. With some pretty interesting stuff in it, and relationships between characters that develop in ways that's interesting. So this one as well, pretty good. Probably not quite as good as the other two. Like I said, I really liked it when I first watched it. Over time, I don't like it as much. And I actually really like the intro to this movie still. Which gets criticized a lot, actually. But I really like the intro to it. And it just, I don't think it ages terribly well. And it's good, but not exceptional. Then we have Fast and Furious, where they kind of go back to the original cast in this one. So they go back, and it actually takes place well before this one. In the timeline, this comes way after those other two. It takes place, I think there's 1, 2, 3. There's at least 3 movies that take place between number 2 and number 3 in the chronology. Yeah, so this one is definitely a drama again, where it's really about the relationships between the characters. Now, this is the first movie in the series where you really need to have watched a previous movie. So, obviously the first movie is the first movie, so you don't have to watch anything before it. The second one, although it has some overlap and you may not understand everything that's going on in this movie if you haven't seen the first one, you can really watch Too Fast, Too Furious. You don't need to have seen the first movie for it to make sense. The third movie, like I said, it's like a completely separate story that has nothing. The story in this one, at this point, if you're watching these in order of release, there's nothing in this one that you need to have seen the previous. There's one little kind of Easter egg scene at the end, but so that you won't get the full impact of that, but it will make sense still. It'll just be a little less meaningful. But in fact, if you watch that one in chronological order rather than release order, that will make even more sense than it does watching it in release order. This one, though, you really need to have seen the first one for this one to make any sense. You probably don't need to see the second one so much. There's a couple little details in the second one, but I don't think you need to have actually seen it. But the first one establishes all the relationships between the characters in this one, in the main characters anyways. And so if you've missed out on that, they're not going to recap it for you too much in Fast and Furious. So this is the first one where you really need to have seen the previous movies to get a good experience out of it. Now, this is also probably one of my least favorite in the series. It's got... I'm not sure what it is about this one that I don't like. It just doesn't have the right tone, I think. Like, it's just trying a little bit too hard to be serious, I think. And it's not a world that people really understand and relate to so much, this crime-filled street racing world. So I think they're trying to be serious in a world that most people will see as kind of silly. And they have enough silliness in it, the same sort of silliness that's in Too Fast and Too Furious, but the tone is more serious and it just doesn't quite mesh right. But to have this one make sense, Fast 5, you need to understand what happened in Fast and Furious. So Fast 5, which is the best movie in the series, is one that you need to have seen the first and fourth for sure, and maybe the second, and actually has a character in it from the third one. But you don't really need to have seen Tokyo Drift for Fast 5 to make sense. But for Fast 5 to get the best out of Fast 5, you need to have seen The Fast and the Furious and Fast and Furious. So number 1 and number 4 for number 5 to make a lot of sense. But Fast 5 transitions from crime drama to action heist. And I think this is the best of the Fast and Furious series. And this one is excellent. It's got lots of action in it, not very much street racing, but lots of action in it. Good, exciting moments, some pretty cool scenes, amazing action sequence in this that they did pretty much the whole thing for real, and it's really impressive. So there's stuff in the action sequence that when you see it, you'll go, oh, they faked that for sure. But no, they did it for real. And it looks great as a result. So Fast 5, super good. But you need to have seen number 1 and number 4 and maybe number 2 to get the most out of number 5. So a little bit sad that you have to do that, but number 5 is excellent and definitely worth watching. Now, Fast and Furious 6 is probably the second best movie in the series. And for this one to make any sense, you need to have seen number 5 and number 4. So obviously, because all the relationships build onto it, you'll need to have that foundation. So, like I said, to get the most out of it. Now, you'd probably have a good time watching 5 or 6 without having seen the other movies, but you really aren't going to get the most of it. Now, Fast and Furious 6, I would not describe as an action heist so much, but it is more in that action genre than the crime drama genre. It's definitely an action movie. This one is sort of Mission Impossible-y in the way that it flows and how it all works out. So I would say this is the most like Mission Impossible of all the movies as far as the types of sequences, action, locations, things like that in it. And it's quite a good one. I do quite like it. But again, you'll need to have seen other ones leading up to it. So then we get to Furious 7. And this is where the genre or the series becomes what I thought it was before I'd seen any. Number 7 is a big action movie, macho. Yeah, it's basically just a big action movie with crazy stuff that happens in it that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's enjoyable, but it's a bit much in that they go so hard into the action on it that it just doesn't reach the level of quality that the others do. It does have some nice moments in it for the characters. So if you've watched all the other movies and you're invested in the characters, it does have some nice stuff in there for them. But the premise in it is pretty ridiculous, and they do some just crazy, silly stuff in it, which is fun to watch, but it's not a technically or let's say, as far as the writing of it is concerned, it's not an exceptional movie. But I do still enjoy it. It's just not really that great. You know. And then you have The Fate of the Furious, which is the last as of this recording, but very soon there will be another one. The last of the mainline series of the Fast and the Furious movies. And this one, again, is just full-on action movie. So it's, I'd say, a little bit worse than number 7. There's some, again, pretty silly stuff in it. And it's fun to watch. There's some exciting sequences and stuff. But it's, again, not great. And definitely worse than number 7. And I don't know where I would put 7 and 8 as far as my preference compared to, say, 1 and 2. But they're way different types of movies. 1 and 2 are crime dramas that have some action in them. 7 and 8 are action movies surrounded in a crime world, sort of. But more Mission Impossible style, but more action-y than Mission Impossible in number 7 and 8. Yeah. And that's the last of the mainline series. Hobbs and Shaw is also a spin-off one, and it sucked. Just even more action-y than 7 or 8. And the writing was worse, and it didn't have any of the heart that existed in the first few movies that kind of carried through to the 5th and 6th and started to wane after that. I did not like Hobbs and Shaw. I have not bought it. I probably never will. And I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. And so I wouldn't bother with that one. But if you're at all interested in these types of action-y crime drama movies, I would say you should give The Fast and the Furious a chance. And you could, like I said, you could start with 5, and 5 is the best one. You're just not going to get the full impact of the characters. But if you don't think you can stomach the 20-year-old movie, The Fast and the Furious, that's not that great. The acting isn't excellent in it. The sequences aren't as good. It's kind of a low-budget movie compared to the others. Like the others, I don't know what the budgets were on them, but definitely the lowest budget in the whole series is the first one, which is fairly common in series that are successful and make a lot of money. So The Fast and the Furious is a series that I really enjoy, generally, with, of course, the exception of the later entries. And I would recommend it. There's a couple things in it. One thing you should know is that there's always, in every one of these movies, at least one scene where they're at some street racing type event and there's a bunch of scantily clad women. Some of them, it's like pretty extreme. Like all of them are wearing clothes, but some of them it's pretty close to not. So, just so you know. And then they are all PG-13, I think. I'm pretty sure they're all PG-13. They all have some swearing in them. As I recall, the swearing gets worse as the series goes on. They all have some violence. The violence definitely escalates. I think, though, Fast and Furious, so number 4 has some of the more disturbing violence, I guess. Yeah. More sort of visceral violence than the other ones. So, I'm trying to think. I don't think the other ones really have the same level. The first movie doesn't really have much in the way of violence because it's not an action movie. So there's not like a bunch of fights or anything like that. There is some violence and blood in it, but it's not. It's just like people getting hurt by accident mostly. Not like people getting in a big fist fight with wrenches like happens later on in the series. So there's some stuff that yeah, well, the later ones are just big action movies, so people get shot and blown up and stuff, but it's not the same as getting hit by a car, if that makes sense. I'm trying to say that without spoiling anything. But it's a movie with cars in it, so people getting hit by cars isn't really a big spoiler. Yeah, but I would say I would recommend the series. Don't expect it to be a super amazing series as far as the writing and acting is concerned. Some of the acting in the series is pretty good. Some of it not so much. And if you're 8 movies in, they're not all going to be excellent acting all the time. Also, the humor in them, some people probably wouldn't appreciate. And some of the humor I like, some of it I don't. That's how it goes. But overall, I do like the series. I will probably watch all of these movies again. I have watched all of them multiple times. And I will watch the Fast and the Furious 9. My hopes are not high for it, but it could be good. Anyways, that's what I've got for you today. If you're interested in more of this more casual type of chatting about movies, you can go to my Patreon. At the lowest level, you can get access to my spoiler chats, which I've done for most of the movies I've reviewed so far. Not the first few, but at one point I started doing it. I've done all of them since then. And I appreciate you watching this one and getting to the end of it. And if you want to support me on Patreon, great. If you don't, that's fine too. As long as you keep watching my videos as much as you can. I don't usually beg for views in my other videos, but this is the casual one, so I would really appreciate if you keep watching my videos and you subscribe and you comment and like and all the things that you're supposed to do on the various platforms that I release these things on. And I really do thank you for your support and for watching, and have a lovely day. Thanks.